Welcome to Better Police Reports. I'm Jean Reynolds. Today's topic is professional sentences. Over the years, I've heard many police officers say they wish they had a more extensive background in English grammar and usage. Well, there's good news. Because police reports are such a specialized form of writing, you can predict many of the sentence and punctuation issues you're going to run into. That means you can prepare for them, and that should build your confidence. So today I'm going to give you some concepts and strategies for writing professional sentences and punctuating them. Now, if you're planning to write, say, a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, you're going to need a more extensive toolbox. But think about this. Police reports are supposed to be efficient and straightforward. That means you don't want a lot of fancy sentence patterns. So everything I'm going to give you today is quick, practical, and jargon-free. Let's get started. I'd like you to read this example and decide how to punctuate it. And it's not a trick question. Well, obviously, you're going to put a period at the end. There's no need to put a comma because this goes straight from the beginning to the end. He ran into the wooded area across the street. Now, if I ask you why you put the period there, that seems like a very simple question, right? It's a sentence. But how do you know it's a sentence? And this is where a lot of professional writers, including police officers, sometimes run into problems. You've got a group of words, you've got many groups of words. Some are small, some are large. How do you know whether you need a comma or a period? How do you know whether it's really a sentence? When I was in school, my teachers used to say to me that a sentence was a group of words expressing a complete thought. Well, when I started teaching, I discovered that that definition didn't work very well. In fact, it confused my students, especially the idea of what is complete. For example, somebody would say, we don't know who he is. We don't know what the street is. Yet it's complete. It's a sentence. So I began searching for a definition that worked better. And the definition I came up with is also very good for police reports, and this is what it is. A sentence is a group of words that begin with a person, place, or thing. The minute you see that word he at the beginning, you know that you've got a sentence that's going to end with a period. Now, in your Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, this isn't going to work for every variation that you use, but this works great for police reports because think about this. In a police report, you want to start most of your sentences with a person, place, or thing. In fact, usually a person. You're telling what you did, so it starts with I, or what another officer did, or a victim, or a suspect, or a witness. When I started working as an English teacher, I used to call these independent clauses, and I found that that confused my students as well. They're sentences. Why not call them that? So hold on to that thought because we're going to need it again in a moment. And here's something else that we're going to be talking about now and again in another minute or so. Suppose I eliminate most of this sentence. We get rid of into the wooded area across the street. And all we have left is he ran. Is that still a sentence? It meets our definition. It starts with a person, he. But is it a sentence? And the answer is yes, it is. Now, you're probably not going to write he ran in anything professional, but this is a concept you're going to need in a moment, so hold on to that thought. Let's go on to our next example. Same question. I saw the suspect crouched behind a car. How are you going to punctuate this? The answer again is it's a sentence. Well, now you know why. It starts with I. So it ends with a period. But what if I put a word in front of I? When I saw the suspect crouched behind a car. This was a sentence before. I've made it longer. Is it still a sentence? The answer is no, and you can see why according to our definition. When is not a person, place, or thing. So I would call this an extra idea. And obviously, you're going to need to add a sentence to the end. This is sort of like a garage. Garage is great to have. You can lock up your lawnmower, you can put your car there in bad weather, but you don't want to live in a garage. So now we are going to add our sentence from before. He ran. And now you can see why it's so useful to know that he ran is a sentence. And we're going to put a comma after our extra idea. Now again, English teachers love to make this complicated. When I saw the suspect crouched behind a car is what I call an extra idea. English teachers will call it a subordinate clause, a dependent clause, a fragment, an adverbial clause. I like the expression extra idea. And I can tell you that everything that uses words, every sentence you say or write, or anyone else says or writes, including in your Pulitzer Prize winning novel, everything falls into two categories. It's an extra idea or it's a sentence. If it's an extra idea, obviously you have to add something to make it complete. If it's a sentence, all you do is put a period at the end of this. What we have just done is comma rule 1. There are only 3 comma rules that you need to write professional sentences in almost any field. This is by far the most common, so let me repeat this. When a sentence begins with an extra idea, use a comma and then add a sentence. How do you know it's an extra idea? Look at the beginning. It will not start with a person, place, or thing. Now, here's another strategy for you to use. As you go through your day, look for extra ideas and sentences. You might read them, you might hear someone else say them, you might say them yourself. For example, some of you have children. Tonight you might say, after the TV show is over, you need to go to bed. Did you hear the extra idea? It starts with after. After the TV show is over, you need to go to bed. How are you going to punctuate that? After the TV show is over is your extra idea. Put a comma. You is a person. You need to go to bed with a period. Those of you who do a great deal of writing, perhaps you write other kinds of reports as well, a highlighter is a wonderful tool. Write your report, print it, and then go through with a highlighter highlighting the beginning of every sentence. Look for extra ideas, look for sentences. And this is almost like taking your brain to the gym. You know that your brain has a whole section devoted to language. Just the simple act of listening to sentences and trying to figure out how they're put together can teach you a lot about language. Now we have one more concept to do. Suppose you wrote this. He ran away, I chased him. Obviously, you need something after away. You can't write, he ran away, I. How are you going to punctuate this? Let's put our period after him. Are you going to put a comma here or are you going to put a period? Remember the concept we've been talking about. The first word in the sentence is he. This starts with a person. So obviously you need a period. If you ever get reports kicked back because your supervisor says you wrote run-on sentences, this is probably what happened. You had a sentence, you ended it with a comma, and you kept going. It ran on, is what we say. Now, I've told you that today we covered comma rule 1. Let me repeat. When a sentence begins with an extra idea, use a comma, and then add a sentence to complete it. There are only 3 of these rules, and you can download and print a free handout that explains them. Everything goes in just 2 sides of a piece of paper. You can learn this very easily. You can download this at my website, www.yourpoliceright.com. You'll also find practice exercises you can do with answers so you can check them yourself. My book, Criminal Justice Report Writing, has a whole section in the middle about professional sentences, punctuation, and other topics. Also, there are practice exercises and there's a complete answer key. The book is inexpensive and it's available in ebook and paperback editions. You can see a free preview at www.amazon.com. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching.